It's been a joyful reunion, years in the making. A retired military dog reunited with its handler. The pair served together for close to 2 years, including in Iraq, but they were forced to separate when Staff Sergeant Payton May was reassigned to a different base. But the two are back together once again, this time for good. I would like to get the details firsthand. So let's welcome in U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Payton May and his 8-year-old bomb-sniffing dog, Jacob, who is now retired and looks like smiling very big there. Payton, so great to see you. Happy Thanksgiving. First of all, talk about how did you and Jacob even first come together in Iraq?
So initially, I started out in the military as 11 Bravo infantryman. And then after I served my time in that, I reclassed. And that's when I joined the 31 Kilo program, military working dog handler program in the United States Army. Shortly after, that's when I got assigned to Fort Drum. And then when I got to Fort Drum, that's when they put me with this little guy right here. We took some time, we certified, we trained up. And then that's when initially my kennel master at the time was like, hey, you're going to go over and serve in Iraq for 9 months. And then it was July of 2021. And after that, the rest is history. 9 months in Iraq with this little guy.
9 months in Iraq. It's so cute. He really does look like Payton, like he is smiling there, very big. Talk about the bond that you two developed, and then kind of talk about why you ended up being separated.
So initially, when I first got him, he was a little bit of a wild child. You can just tell in his eyes when he's playing, when he gets his toy. You can see his little mannerisms when he starts licking his little chops, when he starts seeing the toy. I noticed his work ethic, and then me and myself, I always try to I have pride in myself when it comes to that, my work ethic, and I saw that in him. So that's when I started not really taking advantage of, but using that to my advantage to try to make him into a better military working dog. As we developed that kind of like relationship, that working relationship, eventually we got sent to Iraq. And over that 9 months, you're spending 24/7 with these dogs. In the morning, you wake up to them, and at night, you go to bed with them. And over that time, you start developing like a bond, more of a friendship bond, more than anything, and more of like I see him as my child. That's what most handlers, what I hear about with their dogs, they see him as their children. And that's the way I see him as my son.
Absolutely.
And it was kind of rough when it came to getting back while I was just towards the butt end of my deployment in Iraq is when they're like, hey, you're going to go get stationed at Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland as a military working dog handler sports instructor. And of course, that's kind of heartbreaking because you're spending 9 months out of your year with this single like living being. And initially they're seen as like tools, but really they're not. They really turn into like more of a friendship and more of a close like family.
Yeah, I mean, you call him like your child. So, I mean, you two really had a serious bond. So, Payton, you guys were separated, or the two of you were separated in 2020. But what happened most recently that enabled you to start this process to finally be reunited with Jacob?
So, I've been aggravating them ever since I left Fort Drum. So, I've been telling them like, hey, I'm ready to get my dog. When is my dog going to retire? And they're like, okay, we're going to try to get him dispo. We're going to try to get him dispo. And finally, back in October, that's when they're like, hey, your dog, Jacob is getting ready to be dispoed. And then initially I was going to go up there by myself and fly up there and handle it all myself. But that's very expensive. And especially for us during the holidays when we have students and stuff, it's very hard to get away from work. So that's when I started reaching out to resources. I have a buddy named Isaac. He actually went through American Humane as well, and he introduced me to them. And that's when I emailed out to them, and then they got with me right away and was like, hey, we'll be happy to get your dog. Just make sure you send all your information. Make sure you send the kennels information. And I was able to get with them, and they, little do you know, they went and got them for me, and then now we're here. I picked them up on Monday.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Okay, so Payton, you two were separated, I believe, in 2020. So now it is 2024. You picked him up on Monday. What was that reunion like? Did Jacob immediately recognize you, run to you? Kind of just talk about what that was like.
So when I initially saw him, of course, I had some like little bit of a tears coming under my eyes. It was kind of like heartwarming. It's kind of seemed like it wasn't real, but he came up, he ran up to me, he went in between my legs like he normally does. He went in between my legs, getting love from me. Then eventually he started wanting to jump on me and stuff like that. So it just took a minute for him to warm back up. But
I think he's certainly
we're-
warmed
we're-
back up to you at this point.
Mhm.
He
We got right
remembers
back
his
to where we
dad. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.